Ancient woodlands are habitats that have persevered as part of our ever-changing landscape for hundreds of years. In turn, they are a unique and complex environment that develops communities of plants and animals not found anywhere else due to the stable conditions that they provide. As we begin the transition from winter to spring, the area begins to slowly wake up. You can see that every feature and every detail of the environment is working together and is there for a reason. From the new shoots and buds anticipating the carpets of wildflowers, to the ever-present lichens and mosses, the hollowed out trees homing an entire world of wildlife, everything here is connected. With wildlife in the UK now declining at its fastest rate in thousands of years, we are more reliant on the survival of our woodlands than ever before, as biodiversity is essential for the processes that support all life on Earth, from the air we breathe to the food we eat. But not all of our ancient woodlands are thriving as they should be. There are many different factors that drive species loss, and the way our woodlands are managed is just one of them. Today, just 2% of UK land consists of ancient woodland, with half of this classified as planted ancient woodland sites. Many of these plantations came around during the war times, following a disastrous timber shortage that occurred during the First World War. In the 20s, the newly established Forestry Commission set to work with planting sites of imported, fast-growing conifers to quickly recover from the loss and rebuild our supplies. However, with this came the inevitable loss of ecological value. Man-made and manufactured, a dense single-species woodland would become a disaster for biodiversity, and since then, the focus has been shifted to conservation and recreation. West Blean Woods in Kent is one of the largest ancient woodlands in the UK. Like many others, almost half of the wood is covered in these plantations of non-native conifers and in need of transformation. For hundreds of years, our woodlands have been managed one way or another by people, and they still are. But slowly that's starting to change as we look to a more natural way of keeping our woods flourishing. In July of 2022, after years of planning, a herd of bison were released into 50 hectares of woodland within the Blean Woods to roam freely, as part of a partnership project run by Kent's Wildlife Trust and Wildwood. Brought back from extinction by conservation and rewilding projects across the globe, the bison are now being recognised for the work that they do as a keystone species. They create a mosaic of habitats through their daily behaviours, so just by simply existing, the bison here are playing a huge role in conservation and woodland management. Broad, hairy, stocky, and with plenty of charisma, everything about their presence creates a complete shift in their environment. I wanted to find out more about some of the day-to-day activities that over time will be helping to transform the Blean Woods, so I've arranged a call with Professor Bob Smith of the Durrell Institute of Conservation and Ecology at the University of Kent.
Keystone species is something that changes the habitats and ecosystems that it lives in a way that has big, broad impacts on everything else. So you have sort of ecosystem engineers like beavers, like other large herbivores, like bison. I must admit, sometimes I sort of think the more you study a species, the more you discover how important it is, for that ecosystem. So yeah, probably a lot of species play more of a role than we think. But those ecosystem engineers that dam the rivers or knock down the forest or do those big broad things are the really obvious examples of that sort of keystone aspect.
Would you say this is a better alternative to human management?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, the issue with human management is it's often sort of quite regimented. So often you're relying on volunteers who will come in once a month and do a specific thing in a specific way. And we've seen with the history of conservation in England that even though a lot of our reserves are intensively managed in that way, biodiversity is continuing to decline. So a big part of that is also that the reserves are too small, and you've got issues like climate change and pesticides and all those things that are having those negative impacts. But I definitely think that part of it is that rather than having sort of natural ecological processes, you have people, playing those roles, and obviously, you're not going to be able to recreate that in similar ways to what the bison are doing, for example.
After talking with Bob, my excitement was only increasing by the minute. I needed to get out there and try and catch a glimpse of the bison at work myself. However, I might have let the excitement get the best of me, as I now had to navigate the edges of a triple fenced off 50 hectares worth of woodland in order to catch a sight of what was happening within there. The project is still very new and in various stages of construction with regards to public viewing points. The creation of raised viewing platforms had recently been denied by the council, so the project hasn't been without its obstacles. The highest point that I could find was this lovely mound here, where I sat and waited and paced around for a few hours a day. Time was running out, and eventually, after mistaking my 5th or 6th log for a pair of horns, I decided to call it a day. Though I was disappointed, I could take some comfort in knowing that not seeing them meant that our hairy conservationist friends were definitely somewhere deep into their enclosure, doing exactly what they came here to do. This project is just one of many happening in the UK right now that's helping to engage people with nature and the importance of restoring what little we have left. Ancient woodland habitats are irreplaceable. Once they're gone, we'll never get them back. So by showing support for wilding and conservation projects like this one, having regular conversations around the topic with MPs across the UK, and pushing for better legislation to protect our remaining woodlands, if we act now, we can save our natural spaces and watch them flourish once more